Hey everyone, welcome. So I was supposed to go into my new group called Soul Healing for Empathic Entrepreneurs. So you can see that I've put some posts and you can click a link and you can go in there. And right now there's all of these different trainings that you're available for you today. And it's interesting because I was supposed to go live today in that group, and for some reason the feature is not there, maybe because I changed the name. And today I'm talking about the 5 myths to healing. And I find it interesting that the day that I was supposed to open in my new group, Soul Healing for Empathic Entrepreneurs, that I couldn't go live. And I think this is one part of healing that sometimes it comes naturally and other times we are searching for it, which is these like little nudges, right? Like life either will nudge you, it will like hit you across the face, or it will like kind of slam you into another direction. And I've always kind of thought to myself, I should go back and talk more in my profile in this group, live. And I sort of never, I like the safety of the, empathic entrepreneurs Facebook group. I like the safety of just having that sacred container. But now here I am. So I think life will always nudge you in directions that don't necessarily always feel safe. So, myth number 1 is healing doesn't necessarily at first feel like the safe thing to do. Now, in healing, can we create safety? Of course. Can we create a sacred container that feels safe for our healing? Yes. But at the beginning, when we are nudged, like sometimes in life, to move a certain direction, it doesn't always look or feel safe to us. So we have these, I posted in, like, what is soul healing? And one of the points is that it is a calling, right? There is part of you that just, I think when we're younger, that calling is we're often very much hearing and in alignment with it, and we're not very separate from it. And then as we get, as we kind of continue to evolve and get older here on earth, something happens where we start to not necessarily listen to the soul's calling, and we start to listen to the egoic structure that starts to form, the one that wants to fit into its environment so that it can feel accepted to the tribe. So anyway, I think that's fascinating. So one of the myths that I want to talk about is that there is no finish line. There is no finish line to healing, but there is fruition. So sometimes, I talk about this a lot, sometimes we're on this healing journey, or what we intentionally move. Everyone's on a healing journey. I think, experiencing what we experience is a healing journey. But when we kind of intentionally move towards things that allow us to discover who we are from an egoic perspective, who we are as a human, who we are as a spirit, who we are as a soul, why we're here, then we can maybe talk about that as this healing journey. And in this healing journey, we start to realize there's layers upon layers upon layers upon layers. And sometimes we can almost get into this, what I call this healing loop, where we continue to go into the healing, which will never end. But we forget that in moments to moment, there is a fruition. I was just talking to a client the other day, and we've been on like literally 2 calls, and within those 2 calls, he made choices based on his calling that didn't feel safe, but he knew that they were more congruent and in line with what he truly wants in his heart. So even those in that 2 weeks, there has been a fruition, there has been a shift. So when we're in this healing journey, what we want to start to observe is, because at the beginning, it's these small little fruitions, it's these small little movements. It's these small little shifts. And then all of these small little shifts, the more that every time we take these small little shifts, it becomes the fruition that we're seeking. Sometimes we notice it because there's a physical change, there's an emotional change, and we notice it, but we don't necessarily fully receive it and absorb it. So, like, let me know in the comments if this is, you've been struggling with something chronic, maybe anxiety or maybe depression or something physical. And it took you took a long time to try to find the answers, right? And then when you finally find the answers, because we've been practicing in that place of finding it and being in it and being in the darkness and finding the solutions, we actually sometimes forget to stop and say, oh, wow, okay, that, thing that I was searching so deeply for has finally come to fruition. The anxiety that I used to have, it doesn't mean I don't have it anymore, but there's a new collaboration. And that's another thing I talk about. The soul healing is a collaboration with your egoic structures. It's a collaboration with your survival. It's a collaboration with your fear. It's a collaboration with all parts of you that are not necessarily integrated or serving your soul's calling. So another myth that we can consider is that there is no such thing as the good and the bad, right, in healing. Right? There's no such thing as when I'm depressed and when I'm anxious and when I'm angry and when I'm whatever, frustrated or rageful or whatever, and I'm in the dark place, that's the bad place. And when I feel light and when I feel happy and I feel joyful, that's the good place, right? In this experience called humanity, we're experiencing this duality. And in order for us to heal in this experience of duality, we can start to understand that pain and joy live simultaneously. Pain and joy live simultaneously. Yes, one may be feeling more at a certain point, if you're going through grief or you're going through some kind of inner turmoil, or if you're going through some sort of relationship conflict, that pain might feel more evident. And the joy and the bliss and all that is not there. And then another time you might be feeling really joyful, really blissful, But the reality is, if you were to stop and just feel into this, they exist at the same time. In this very moment, they exist at the same time, right? So that's where we start to learn how to collaborate, right, with all experiences, with all dualistic experiences, and not necessarily categorize one as bad or one as good. Because if we do that, then what starts to happen is this like kind of yo-yo where it's like, I had another client where it's like, oh yeah, no, I'm having a bad week. And last week was really good. And it's sort of like what will happen is if we kind of categorize these good and bad weeks, which I understand what he's saying, right? But it's like, it will be like bad, good, bad, good, bad, good. And it's very destabilizing. But when we can kind of welcome in and receive ourselves in the moment, whatever that moment may be. So in this moment, you can start to recognize, well, where am I at? Melancholy, sad, lonely, like, can I collaborate and receive that, right? Because the more we can receive, the more we can receive. So if we can receive our sadness, our grief, our joy, our loneliness, then we can also receive the beauty, the awe, the wonder. Because if we're always sort of somewhere in a neutral, whenever there's deep darkness, we don't necessarily go into it and receive it. And whenever there's joy, like we don't necessarily go fully into it. So one, like the grief and the sadness and the pain is actually the elixir, the chalice for us, when we walk outside and we realize, wow, life is both pain and joy. And so when we have fully felt that pain, when we walk out into the contrast of just feeling the sun on their face, or being in community, or just doing what we love, it's like we can fully receive it because we understand what it is to experience that pain. So I hope that's making sense for you. Let me know. You can write it down in your own journal, but let me know if that's making sense. You don't have to comment if you don't want to. One other thing about healing that's a myth is sometimes we think there's going to be this big moment, right? This big moment of insight, or what we call enlightenment, and that could be true, but that happens because we've had many, 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 many moments of insight, these many moments and choices that we've gone along the path. So it's like, when we're on this healing journey, sometimes what happens is we finally figured it out, and we think, oh, that's the thing. I did this thing. I started eating this food. But if we think about it, we had a long path to get to that nexus point, right? So that big moment is because there was many little moments that allowed for that insight to occur. So healing, sometimes we look for that, moment of enlightenment, which does and can happen from many, many choices and many moments. Let me know if that resonates with you. And so it brings me to a next point, which is we're always in our own minds and in our own self searching for that healing, that inner healing. But the teaching actually arises when the student and the teacher are together. Now, the teacher can be an actual teacher. The teacher can be an actual moment or book. The teacher can be spirit, or whatever you want to call it, life, God, universe. The teacher can be some, random person on the street that you have an interaction with, and then all of a sudden you wake up. A random moment with somebody who's homeless, and you wake up to your own, blessings and beauty in your life. So the teaching arises when the student and the teacher are together. So this healing journey, yes, we are autonomous beings, and it is beautiful to have independence. But the truth of the matter is, one of my teachers always shares with us, and her teachers shares with her, like, we don't heal alone. We don't heal alone. We heal in community, in commune with unity. We heal with spirit. We heal with actual community members. We heal with maybe one other person, right? We're constantly healing through that interaction when we're unifying ourselves, not separating ourselves, right? Because sometimes when we're in the healing journey, we sometimes feel like we're all in our minds, and we're trying to find the solution, and we're trying to figure out how to calm down the symptoms. But the teaching arises when the teacher and the student are together. And I know this because, I have clients, and yes, I have a direction, and yes, I have my tools, and yes, I have, what I know we can work on. But in the moment when we are actually in real time together, that's when the teaching arises. Why? Because all of a sudden we're finding unity, and in the yogic philosophy, I am you and you are me. This is God playing in itself, being many facets of the diamond so that the diamond can see many facets of its own reality. And, so it's the idea is that, God wanted to experience itself through physical, tangible experiences, because everything is happening all at once. So when we can individuate in these like human, individual, unique beings, we're all seeing a facet of the diamond from a different perspective, and that creates evolution, right? When there's all of these perspectives and point of views, it starts to evolve creation. So I believe that's one of the reasons why we don't heal alone, why when we're in unity, the healing arises, because we start to see ourselves in others. We start to see ourselves in others. When we stop judging what we are attracting, we stop attracting what we're judging. When we stop judging each other, we start to attract that sense of unity, that sense of love, that sense of compassion, that sense of I see you, even if you are perfectly imperfect. And then that starts from within, that, like I was talking about, that collaboration, right, with our own egoic structures. This practice is, and this is another myth, it's like this practice is not about banishing the bad parts of us. It's actually the ability to collaborate. The ability to collaborate with all parts of us, our not so honest parts, or maybe not so nice parts, maybe the parts that are not completely in alignment with our truth. Maybe the ones that are wounded and hurted, right, and hurt. So it's about collaborating and bringing them in. It's like, I think about it like our body as this body temple. So when there's part of you that is very judgy or frustrated or angry or just, can we actually turn towards it and welcome it in our home? Because it is our home. But what we tend to do is like, be quiet, I'm just going to be this like good person, and we're like, shh, you just stop it. And we ignore that part of us, right? When really all that part of us, this goes a little bit deeper, is something that hasn't been fully integrated. And usually it's a part of us when we were younger that hasn't been fully integrated into our experience. So what it's doing when we see parts of us, the dark shadow parts of us, it is time what it's doing is like, can you see me? Right? Please see me. And it's for us to kind of welcome that part into our home. And when we can receive those parts, we can receive others, because there is no human being that doesn't experience the way we experience it. We are all judgmental. We all have our biases. We all have our dark side. We all have our incongruent thoughts. We all have our dishonesty. There's no one exempt from that. So when we can love that part in ourselves by receiving it and saying, come, I see you. I see you. I hear you. I see you judging. Yeah, I see you frustrated. I see you mad. I see you blaming. I see you being a victim. I talked about this. We have these archetypes: the victim, the prostitute, and the persecutor, which is, again, all 8 billion of us have that archetype. Okay, we're not exempt. So when we can see that part of us, then when we see others, that's where that unconditional love starts to come from, where we just fully accept all parts of them. Their beauty, their joy, their magic, their love, their innocence, their creation, and the parts that are not so, let's say, not so holy, or whatever that is, whatever we want to call it, not so pure, you know. And, I want to come back to this intuition because, hi, Nicole. Intuition, right, is something, and I talked about, I wrote a couple of posts of what soul healing is, and it's that ability to listen to the soul's calling. What the heck does that mean, right? It's like, hello, gorgeous. Can we listen? And sometimes that calling, it's very faint, and we're hearing it, and intuition is something that we don't have certainty. We don't know where it's going, right? So when we're in this healing process, where our intuition kind of nudges us and whispers us and it doesn't necessarily make sense or feel safe, or it's not even something you're certain about or something, but it's, you don't, when you listen to your intuition, it's not something that the outcome. So when we listen to the intuition, right, it is something even in the moment that can feel like, I don't really know where this is going, but I know that this is where I'm supposed to go. Do you ever have that, right? Where it's like, I don't know where this is going, but I know that this is where I'm supposed to be and where I'm supposed to go. And you know that from a sense and a feeling, and then all of a sudden what starts to happen is you practice, yes, right? All the time. It's like you practice listening to that intuition, and something inside of you in the very moment feels okay. And it doesn't mean that the part of you that is fearful or doubtful or uncertain are not present. So on this kind of healing journey, part of it is listening to our intuition, but not to be confused that the intuition is always, sometimes it's crystal clear. It's like no, yes, go, and it's a whole body yes, right? And sometimes it's like, I don't know the outcome, but I know I'm supposed to be here. And then that creates momentum. And as you kind of follow that thread, that momentum starts to build, and you start to trust the unfolding. As you start to listen to your intuition, you start to trust the unfolding. Because the other thing too, I think the myth is like, our intuition is not always going to give us something we like. Our intuition is not always going to give us a scenario. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's going to, you listen to it and you're like, oh my God, I'm so glad I came to this party and I totally understand why. And now I met this person, blah, blah, blah. And sometimes you listen, and life is on the healing path, is what I call, there's a deeper prayers. We all have these deeper prayers. And life will answer those deeper prayers, and sometimes you don't even realize what those deeper prayers are, and it's going to ready you for that path. And it might ready you in situations that are not necessarily pleasant or pleasurable. So I'll just give you an example. Years ago, I was giving this, I used to give mom and baby yoga teacher training. So I used to train other yoga teachers how to teach mom and baby. Right. And that was like, it was just my joy. It was my pleasure. It was my project, my baby. And my deeper prayer that year was, I want to know love, but not like love, a romantic love or in a partner love, but just like, what is love? I want to know it. I want to experience it. And in that training, I had somebody who everyone, 9 out of 10 people loved it. And then I had one woman in the training, she like literally just sat in the corner and she was just like, you know, this sucks, SHIT, you know? and and of course my ego was like, oh my God, you know, she just, you know, and my part of me that wanted to please her, and the part of me that was so attached to this project, and this part of me that wanted this outcome. And of course, after reflection, after kind of getting over myself and my attachment to the outcome of needing people to like me and like my project and all this stuff, I realized, well, life was answering my question. You want to know love? You want to know true love? Then experience something and someone that doesn't like something that you're in love with. And it wasn't about me loving her, it was about me loving me, even when, you know, even when I was totally taking it all so personally and wanting her to love me and love my project. And so could I love myself in that experience? So listening to intuition, it feels like you're supposed to be there, but it's not necessarily always the most pleasurable ride. And I think that's kind of the human experience. As a soul, we kind of come down and like, whoa, okay, let's experience what it is to have a body. Let's experience what it is to have emotions. Let's experience it to have like these deep contrasts of pain, deep polarization of deep pain, and then deep joy, and then like a timeline where it's like there's life and death here, right? When in reality, all things are there's always a cycle. There's never nothing really ever dies. Like once we leave this physical body, our spirit still remains. So, you know, it's the intuition of, oh yeah, I know I'm supposed to be here, even though it feels scary, or it doesn't feel necessarily like I'm so certain about the outcome. So let me know if that makes sense. So let me recap our, the 5 myths to healing. Number 1, there is no finish line, but there is fruition. You know, we're just going to continue this journey of uncovering who we are and working with our own demons and, you know, being in our heart. Like that's just going to be a forever thing. But there is fruition, right? Meaning to say, when you are on your path, the thing that you're working on takes up so much space, you know, and you want less of being this and less of being that. And then we want to let in, you know, what is there? I was talking to a client and she's like, oh, you know, ever since we were working together, I just feel a little bit more calm. Like things that used to make me anxious or I would always be in my head, like I just feel a little more relaxed. And I was like, oh my gosh, something to celebrate. Like, oh, you know, like absorb that, take that in, because it is something that will be there and maybe not be there, or feel like, you know, sometimes the pain and whatever we're going through is going to take up more room. So when those little fruitions happen, when these little moments of like peace, can we literally take it in and give it more room, right? So when you're feeling that peace, when you're feeling that joy, can we take it? Because we give a lot of room for pain and suffering and, you know, what's wrong in our life. We give so much room for that. You know, it takes over sometimes, and then we spiral and we get overwhelmed. And then there's also when there's these moments of joy and bliss, like can we literally, and just try that now, can we literally just take it in and receive it? But not just hold on to it and grip to it, but like let it kind of fill the room a bit. Let it take up space. It's like, oh wow, the thing that I've been working so hard to like be less anxious or whatever it is. Oh, I'm feeling that right now. And where we're, as soon as, let's say, we feel something like similar to what we don't want to feel, then we go panic because we think, oh my God, it's happening again. When it's like, it's both and. So being able to give more space to what's in fruition is going to be able to carry you, and you're going to be carried differently. It is not that you're not going to ever experience pain again or anxiety again, but you're just going to experience it differently. Like when it comes, like I said at the beginning, you welcome it in. It's like, okay, come frustration, come grief, come blame, come sadness, come grief, come. All right. Where before we're like, no, shh, get out. And it's like we're trying to create something by running away from something. And that never really works, right? In the healing path, it never really works to try to create this beautiful life and calm and blah, when we're like, shh, I'm going to run away from you so I can be here. Well, that's going to be a never-ending race. There's not going to be one big magical moment where you all of a sudden feel enlightened or you meet the right teacher or the right guru. Yes, there are times where we all of a sudden have a moment of clarity, but it's because we've had all these little choices and little moments along the way. So you created a path for that big moment to happen. But if we're just looking for it in that way, it doesn't happen that way. Yeah. Big thing about we talked about is intuition, and I think that is something more nuanced and more subtle, but it is that feeling of knowing. You don't know where it's going, but you know you're supposed to be here. You don't know where it's going, but you know it's supposed to be here. And sometimes the level of knowing is feeling, it takes up a lot of space, and you're like, oh, I just know. And sometimes it just takes a little space, and it's just like, I know, but all this stuff, I'm scared, I'm not sure, but the feeling is still the same. You see, the feeling can feel really small, but it can be crowded with all of our fear and all of our worries, or the feeling can be really big, or we just know, okay, this is it. This is like, I'm in the right place right now, right? And the last thing is that we don't heal in a solo container, right? The healing arises when the teacher and the student are together, and the teacher can be an actual teacher, the teacher can be a line from a book, the teacher can be a homeless person on the street, the teacher can be a moment in life, the teacher can be the sun in your face, or trees, or a bird that you see. Yesterday I was trying to feel peaceful, and I was walking on the street, and I saw this dead animal, and then these birds eating that animal, and yeah, that was, not pleasurable. But again, there was a teacher. It's like, here on earth, this is the cycle. There's a birth and death cycle. That was a teacher. That was a teacher, right? And so then every time it was a squirrel and then crows. And every time I then saw like a little squirrel, an alive squirrel, like bouncing around, I was like, oh, look at that. Look at him enjoying, or her, or whatever, enjoying their life, Because then there was just that moment, again, pain and joy living at the same time. This moment where this squirrel's life is over, and a moment where other squirrels are enjoying their life, or being, in their nature, right? So the teaching, if we are putting ourselves in a state of readiness to receive, will arise. And there's always a teaching that arises. If we're in the duality of good, bad, it's going to be very hard to receive a lesson, right? But there's always on the healing path. This whole trip of being human is a healing path. And then when we come back and we leave this human body and we look down, like, okay, what did I learn? Oh, what do I want to relearn, or what do I want to learn again, or what do I want to go deeper if we decide to come back here on Earth. So the whole trip is the healing path. And I think when we steep into that last thing that I talked about, pain and bliss that exist at the same time, we become more integrated and more whole as a human being, and more, in recognition of what it is to be human and what it is to have a soul. And the soul is just happy to experience being in a body. Like, just think about that miracle for a second. It's like we are living in a human body, like trillions of cells coagulating to create this thing called a body. Like, that's a freaking miracle. And then we wake up and we realize, whoa, like, I'm literally living as a miracle in human body form, and I get to touch, and I get to feel, and I get to experience everything. The deep pains and sorrows and the deep joys that is here. The Garden of Eden, we walk outside and literally the sun, the trees, the air is a Garden of Eden. So I hope this was helpful, the 5 myths of healing. I'm sure there is so much more to talk about, but my intuition called me to this topic, and again, it wasn't super crystal clear, but I kind of just knew it's what I was supposed to be talking about today. And so whoever has been listening, whatever line touched you, you maybe let me know in personal DM if you don't want to write in public, or let me know in the comments, what resonated with you the most on this, the 5 myths to healing. And here I am live in the profile. I was supposed to go live in my new group, the Soul Healing for the Empathic Entrepreneur. So check it out. There's a link there. Right now, there's all of these deep dive trainings that I have done for the last couple of years that may resonate with you. So it is a place that both platforms are a place to have a sacred place to land every week, and just kind of sometimes redirect, like sometimes just having a weekly. And that's the thing about healing, it is a practice. Everyone deserves healing, but not everybody is willing to do the practice, right? So this gives you an opportunity just to land somewhere in a sacred container where you can reinvigorate your vision here on Earth. Why are you here? And again, it's not that this big grandiose thing, but why are you here? Maybe you're just here to love, to live, to joy, to dance, whatever it is. Why are you here? Who are you, and why are you here on Earth at this time in your life? And that's what this sacred container is giving you a place to land so you can develop this devotional discipline, because healing, it takes that devotional discipline. And some people are just not into it. They're just living their life, doing their thing, living more from the exterior world, and that's totally cool, right? And some people are going on that inner journey and the inner path so that they can interact in a unified way with themselves and the world. So that is it. Who knows? Maybe I'll be going live here now from now on, because I don't know what's going on with my group. I don't know why I can't go live there. Maybe because I changed the name and all of a sudden I lost that function. Who knows? But then again, there's life kind of nudging me, and here I am today. So I hope this was helpful. I'll see you next week, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Let me know your biggest takeaways, either in a DM or in here. And for those of us who want to take this work deeper, what I do with all of our clients is I move them through a process where we start to understand the healing process from all the dimensions in your body, in your mind, in your energy. And the very first thing we do on a free coaching call, the breakthrough, what I call a breakthrough yoga coaching call, is to see where, if you're feeling stuck somewhere in your life and you're not necessarily manifesting the life of your dreams, then there is something that has been imprinted in your body, in your mind, in your energy. And that's the first lever, and that's the first thing we're going to look at. And then in the program, we start to go deeper in the body, we go deeper in the mind, we go deeper in our being able to process emotion, we go deeper into being able to master our energy, and then we start to create the life that we know we're here to live, the life that our soul is calling us, because it always is. We can ignore it. We can ignore it as much as we want, but our soul's calling will always call us, whether it's in this lifetime and the next lifetime. It's going to beckon us, and so it just becomes a choice. So if you're interested in a breakthrough yoga coaching call, and you're interested in going deeper and working in that program and understanding and knowing about that program, DM me and let me know, Jamie, I'm ready for a breakthrough yoga coaching call, and we will begin the deep dive work right away on the call. And then you can see how what it's like to be in a container where, okay, this now you're getting to the root of your own core wounds, and you're getting to the root of your own bliss and how you want to experience this world. So thank you, everybody. I'll see you next week, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I appreciate your presence. If you have any questions, either DM me or let me know down in the comments. And check out the new Soul Healing for Empathic Entrepreneurs group. And you'll see a lot of offerings there that I'm going to continue to help create that space for us to heal together. See you all next week. Bye, guys. Thanks.